No one can deny that the DJI O3 has the best video quality that there is out there right now. But for me, video quality is not all. You see, I own 7 inches, 5 inches, 3.5, 2 inches, and even the smallest of all at 86 millimeters, the Mobile 6. I have all these drones, and I enjoy being able to fly all of them without having to be changing my goggles and the whole system just because there are different VTXs. This is the main reason why today I'm flying quite often walksnail. Walksnail has from big VTXs for the 5 inches and 7 inches and all that, to small VTXs 1S for the smallest of the tinywhoops and the small drones that you find around. But of course, DJI is very powerful. A lot of people buy DJI or DJI drones or drones with the DJI VTX because of this good quality that I'm talking about. And there is a new trend out there where manufacturers are trying to create small drones, very light drones using the O3, I guess to try to satisfy that section that today is not very easy to find with the DJI O3. I got myself the GEPRC version of these drones. If you look at what's happening right now is that the beta FPV started some time ago with the Pavo, which was a drone, a very small drone, just kind of like with the O3. It's the flight controller and the O3, nothing else. Happy model followed with the Mobile 8, very similar concept, very similar drone, trying to be as light as possible, and now GEPRC has done its own. It's called the Dark Star. Exactly the same concept as the other two, the Happy model and the Beta FPV, where there is almost nothing more than the VTX and one all-in-one flight controller that has everything else. This drone is made of hard plastic, very rigid plastic, and even the cage that is holding the VTX and the camera are made of some kind of injecting molding plastic. The drone itself or the camera itself is a bit unprotected if you ask me, because since you don't have any carbon fiber or anything more than this front thing here to cover if you're going to hit with the drone like this. And I have to guess that the main reason for these kind of drones to exist is because people want to have something small to fly indoors, where they want to use the O3 to be able to capture and film in the best possible quality. I don't think that you're going to be carrying an action camera in these kind of drones, right? Like there is no place to put it, there is no natural place to put it. I'm guessing that someone is gonna do some TPU mount and do something, but even if you're using the lightest of them all, I think this drone is going to have a little bit of trouble flying with some kind of action camera. But again, in my opinion, this trend started because people wanted to film with the O3 indoors. But I wanted to see if these kind of drones are as fun as flying indoors as, for example, my Mobile 6, which is the one that I'm using normally these days, where the autumn and the winter is coming, it's cold outside, it's raining all the time, it's dark. And then when I need to fly and I want to have some stick time, I take my Mobile 6 and fly in my house where I have a lot of fun. And I want to see if I can do the same thing with an O3 to recommend you guys, everyone that doesn't have walksnail or HDzero, to have something to fly when the winter is coming. There are 3 different versions for the Dark Star, the O3, the version for the Vista or the Wasp, and then there is a third version which is called WTFPV, which is basically the drone without the VTX, so you can build your own drone with the VTX. But if you look at the frame and how the drone is designed, you will see that in that VTX cage you can fit an O3 and the Vista, but very little chance that you're gonna fit something else. Even if you have some screws on the top or some screw holes on the top to fit the mounting pattern of some VTX, the cage itself, the height and the width of the cage is gonna make it very difficult to have anything else that is not the Vista or the O3. At the same time, I thought that I was going to do like a building video for this drone, but there is nothing to build. The drone comes mostly built, and the thing that you have to do is to install the VTX. The VTX cable, it's soldered already, and you even have the antennas that are short, so they fit the Vista or the O3 without any problem. So you just have to open this cage here, you insert the VTX, you disconnect the old antennas and disconnect the cable that comes original with the O3, connect the ones that are available in the drone frame, and that's it from the physical installation. Of course, you have to take the drone to the beta flight and check for your stick controls that they are mapped the correct way. Add your modes so you can turn on and do the different things that you want to do with your drone. Set the OSD so you have what you want in there. And the last thing that you have to think about is binding the drone. In my case, I got the ExpressLRS version, and this is something that is also pretty cool here. The new the new flight controller all-in-one that is in these drones has ExpressLRS integrated, but as a serial receiver, which means that you can always upgrade the ExpressLRS receiver separately from the Betafly version that is on the all-in-one. This is something that is ideal. A lot of manufacturers are doing happy model change from SPI to serial receivers. That is the name that this is called, which is very good and very appreciated. I'm not sure how Betafly is doing it, Beta FPV is doing it, because I don't have one of those drones and I haven't checked that. But in the case of GEPRC, again, the ExpressLRS is integrated, which means that the ExpressLRS version of the Dark Star, it's going to be a few grams lighter than the Crossfire version. So if you're chasing those grams to make the lightest possible drone, ExpressLRS is going to help you in this occasion. In my case, binding ExpressLRS is just for me adding my ExpressLRS bind phrase on the receiver, and once that I restart the drone, everything is connected to my radio. Simplest of all, love ExpressLRS. Now let's talk about the flying. This is a 2S drone, okay, and I thought in the beginning that the 2S requirement was more because of the VTX, the O3, than the drone itself, because if you think about it, it's quite small drone, and I thought light and small might be that you don't need the 2S because of power, but it was more because of feeding the VTX. But the 2S battery makes that this drone is actually a bit powerful. So when I'm flying this indoors, I have to be more careful, and I have to be like the way that you control the drone, the throttle on the drone is much more sensitive in the beginning, but then at the end of the stick is going to be less sensitive. You can play a little bit with your rates and so on to fix this if you want to do something different, but I'm guessing that the characteristics of the drone itself are going to keep being very similar to this. This drone is not like, I remember some drones in the past, for example when they started the HDzero, that they tried to do small drones with an HDzero VTX, and it was very heavy and the drones fly like a truck, they had a lot of momentum, and this is not happening with this drone. This drone is responsive, it has power, you can use it, you can turn pretty nicely, but at the same time all this power, it's making that the drone, in my case, is not the ideal drone to fly indoors in a small space like my house. Again, this is my opinion and this is the way that I'm using it, right? Like, I love flying my Mobile 6 in my house. I move some chairs and I create some obstacles and I fly through them and I'm having a lot of fun. and I would love to find an O3 drone that could be similar to this, so I can talk and offer my customers on having this when, you know, next to their big 5 inches O3 drone. But I have to be honest, and I have to say that even if I find this drone to be nice and to fly nicely and it's very easy to handle, I still think that something like the Mobula 6 1S is still much more fun to fly indoors in spaces like what I have here. If I would be like in a sport court indoors that has much more space, maybe this Dark Star is going to be fantastic, and if you have some obstacles and some things to go through, that's gonna be very good. But in a space like my house, I'm still preferring my Mobula 6. One thing that I have to say that I don't like from this drone is actually the battery cage. You see the frame and everything in this drone is made from this hard plastic, injected molded plastic, and the battery cage is part of that. It's very rigid, which means that if you don't have a battery that is exactly the same size that GEPRC was thinking or designing, then you're not gonna be able to hold the battery in there. I was thinking, for example, to use my Tattoo 550, which I love because it's a very good weight for the amount of milliampere hours that it has, but they don't fit in here. And I don't have a nice way to attach the battery to the drone if it doesn't fit in the battery cage. Here is where I have to give kudos to tinywhoop, for example, that they have created a drone where you can change the battery cage. You can print different battery cage with TPU in your 3D printer, and then depending on the battery that you're gonna be using, you have different sizes that you can attach to the drone. That's very, very smart, and something that I would like other manufacturers to copy, because this for me right now is gonna be a problem. I don't have a battery that fits in here, which is gonna make that I'm gonna have to come with some crazy idea to hold the battery with a rubber or with a zip tie or something like that, which is not going to look nice, and it might throw the center of gravity a little bit away, because I'm not going to be using or putting the battery where it's designed to be. So GEPRC, if you're listening to this video, please think about that for the future, and don't make these unflexible battery cages that force people to cut them or to do things that the drone is not designed for. So in conclusion, for me, this is a very nice drone, super easy to build if you're thinking to buy the version without the VTX and just install your own. No soldering requiring, no fiddling difficulties or anything. It's just install the antennas, screw the camera, screw the top of the cage, and that's it. A couple of minutes and you're done. It flies very nicely, and as long as you have space and as long as you have a good idea where you're going to use it, this drone is going to be nice for you to fly around, capture some very nice views with your O3, and still have fun with your drones and your DJI system. This is what I have for you today. Thank you for watching. See you soon.